Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 161 416 New Recruits on the Battlefield. 161st of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. At 8 past dusk, the city gates closed. The sky was a hazy yellow, the sun sinking in the west. Crimson clouds filled the sky, ablaze with vibrant hues. The hidden ones had all departed, leaving the vast transcendent manor to fall silent in the twilight. Li Ling was among the last to leave the city, following Old Zhou and the others. Day and night shifted, yin and yang separated. Li Wei retrieved Zhen Hai Guanwu from the blood-mud space. The two walked along the quiet courtyard path to the meticulously prepared wedding chamber, where red candles, red silk, and curtains created a strange, dreamlike atmosphere. That afternoon, Li Wei had been copying intelligence information, preparing dozens of copies. Zhen Hai Guanwu, meanwhile, had been in the blood-mud space, helping him refine the star spiritual pill and studying the 3-foot-tall Buddhist shrine he had brought from the underground immortal mansion. Inside the shrine lay an iron box. The box was incredibly heavy, even with Tang Wanzhou's cultivation, she couldn't lift or open it. The iron box was sealed during the ancient Bhagavata sect era with 376 secret Buddhist scriptures. I've deciphered them all, Zhen Hai Guanwu said, spreading her palm. Immediately, dense Buddhist scriptures condensed and flew toward Li Wei's spirit realm between his eyebrows. Li Wei asked, "What's inside?" "A page from a true sutra of the Buddhist sect. It should be immensely helpful for your cultivation. But we don't have much time left tonight. Shall we continue discussing cultivation?" Zhen Hai Guanwu said. Li Wei stared at her breathtakingly beautiful jade-like face for a long moment. "Have you truly convinced yourself?" During their first candid conversation, when Zhen Hai Guanwu chose the second Yang marriage option, she had said, "You're actually quite decent. I can convince myself to accept you." Zhen Hai Guanwu gazed at the fading sunset on the horizon. "In my eyes, you're no longer just decent. In a century, your fame on the Yingzhou continent will likely surpass even mine. It's just a pity that we've known each other for too short a time, and the current circumstances are beyond our control. I'm afraid I'll wrong you," Li Wei said. Zhen Hai Guanwu replied, "You're perfect in every way, except when it comes to matters of the heart. You're always hesitant and indecisive. We've already performed the heaven and earth ceremony, and we're no longer strangers. Tonight, on our wedding night, our fates are intertwined. This isn't the end we've been striving for, it's the beginning of everything. Yet you, Wei Yi, have mistaken the beginning for the end." Night had fallen completely. Li Wei drained the last of the wine from the flask, took a deep breath, and with a flick of his finger, extinguished the red candle across the room. Then, he lifted Zhen Hai Guanwu into his arms and carried her toward the red-draped bed, just like any newlywed couple. In that moment, he felt like a new recruit stepping onto the battlefield for the first time, his heart filled with uncertainty and trepidation. Was his spear sharp enough? Would the taste of killing truly be as exhilarating and thrilling as the veterans claimed, or would it leave him burdened with guilt and psychological weight? On the first battlefield, everything was unknown. He only knew that the enemy was formidable, and this would be the most crucial challenge of his life. Newlyweds, wedding night, bridal chamber candle. This was destined to be a sleepless night. Dear readers, control your imagination. Don't picture these scenes too vividly. A transcendent manor, located just 10 miles from the Six Thoughts Zen Temple. As night fell, exotic beast carriages arrived one after another, entering the manor. Zen Master Six Thoughts, appearing to be around 30 years old with an 8-star precept seal atop his head, sat opposite Anshanjing, discussing Buddhist law. Lanterns were lit, piercing the darkness. Though Zen Master Six Thoughts was known as Venerable Lingxiao, one of the 5 great venerables of the Twin Rice sect's Heaven Valley Tianjia Hall, he was not originally from the Lingxiao realm. He had arrived over 20 years ago, accompanying the Crown Prince of the Demon Kingdom. He served as the Crown Prince's representative in the Lingxiao realm. He remained behind to study the power of the Six Thoughts Heart Demon, a condition the Crown Prince had set for helping Yu Yaozi in slaying the Holy Infant. Zen Master Six Thoughts not only studied the various spells and incantations related to the Six Thoughts Heart Demon but also always considered himself a Buddhist cultivator. He was deeply interested in the Buddhist scriptures unearthed from the underground immortal mansion by the Twin Rice sect, leading to close cooperation between the two. The Twin Rice sect sought the Demon Kingdom's support and thus appointed Zen Master Six Thoughts as Venerable Lingxiao. Each side benefited from the arrangement. Footsteps echoed as sect leader Yang Shenjing of the Sui sect arrived first. He appeared to be in his 50s, with a handsome face, temples dusted with frost, and a composure as steady as a mountain. His eyes never betrayed any emotion, radiating an aura of inscrutability and the unknown. And Xuanhuan stopped discussing Buddhist teachings with Zen Master Six Thoughts and looked out of the pavilion. Sect leader Yang's presence here suggests you already know about our plans. How did you learn of them? The main hall and hall master and have always held prejudice and wariness toward this old one, a consequence of racial bias. However, the hall master of the Heaven Valley Tianja Hall has consistently trusted me and the Sui sect, Yang Shenjing replied, stopping 10 paces from the pavilion, standing as firm as a pine tree beneath the starry sky. The identity of the Heaven Valley Tianja Hall master remained a mystery, even to Shenjing, who suspected it might be a transcendence from the human race. Yang Shenjing and the Sui sect were crucial to breaking through Lingxiao City. Their value outweighed any reservations, so Shenjing said no more. The 12 elders of the Zhuli hidden sect were brought forward, escorted by 2 Dao Seed realm experts from the Sui sect. The 12 elders were limp and lifeless, their bones shattered in numerous places. In the darkness, someone asked, "Who is this?" Yang Shenjing said, "For some time now, an unknown force has been secretly investigating the Sui sect's various strongholds. But this group is powerful, highly vigilant, and exceptionally skilled at concealment. We've been unable to capture them. After returning to the city, I personally intervened and finally apprehended one." Zen Master Six Thoughts said, "We noticed this long ago and have captured several of them. But these people are incredibly stubborn. Not one has spoken." Yang Shenjing nodded. He has death spirit fire within him, making it impossible to extract his soul spirit memories. Only the Crown Prince can hope to obtain useful information. Is that so? If it's this difficult to get them to talk, I'll give it a try. The transcendence of the sacred dark family stood dozens of yards away, shrouded in endless darkness. A clawed hand reached out across the distance. Hiss. Strands of black thread spread out, burrowing into the 12th elder's body, seeking to corrupt his consciousness and soul spirit. The 12th elder let out a piercing scream. As the darkness corroded and shattered the seals within him, he deliberately ignited the death spirit fire, and his body instantly crackled and burst into flames. Everyone present watched coldly. Zen Master Six Thoughts was unfazed by this sight, as he knew that even if he had used his mind spirit curse technique, the result would have been the same. Moments later, the 12th elder's body was reduced to ashes. Zen Master Six Thoughts, his face serene and his voice gentle, said, "His Royal Highness the Crown Prince has gone to Qilin Terrace. Tonight's gathering will be presided over by this humble monk." The sound of carriage wheels and hearty laughter echoed from afar. This third palace master of Lingxiao Palace actually agreed to let His Royal Highness the Crown Prince enter Qilin Terrace. How interesting. Another faction arrived in an exotic beast carriage. At the reins was a refined and handsome young man with a pure immortal physique. He wore a Confucian scholar's cap, his bright eyes radiating intelligence and charm. Despite being at the Dao Seed realm, he showed no sign of nervousness in the presence of so many top-tier experts. His eyes scanned the crowd with a calm and observant gaze. This composure alone marked him as a standout among the younger generation. This was Fu Wenyan, the young celestial emperor of Calamity Crossing Temple. The carriage behind him was covered in intricate calligraphy. Each character was difficult to decipher, yet possessed an undeniable aesthetic beauty. Fu Wenyan, relaxed and carefree, turned his gaze toward the sacred dark family's transcendent enclave, where he spotted Xie Chukai. Xie Chukai had nearly doubled in height, his bones now visible beneath his skin. A pair of bone wings sprouted from his back, and his eyes burned blood red. Fu Wenyan sighed, knowing this was the price for making a mistake before a major event. Punishment, becoming neither man nor ghost, perhaps even with a completely clouded mind. Dozens of meters away on the corridor, Luan Sheng Linyu, with silver hair cascading like a waterfall, called out from afar, "In the Lingxiao realm, with the crown prince's status and cultivation, he can go anywhere he wishes. No one can refuse, they can only welcome him." Fu Wenyan's gaze turned to Luan Sheng Linyu. He had long heard of this peerless prodigy of the demon race, and his eyes held a scrutinizing gaze. In the Lingxiao realm, only a handful of individuals had caught his attention. A Dao Seed realm young celestial emperor could stand shoulder to shoulder with immortal realm great powers in any faction. If their backing was strong enough, their status could even rival that of a great immortal. Leading Luan Sheng Linyu was the Crimson Phoenix, one of the 5 phoenixes of the demon clan. In human form, the Crimson Phoenix was a man over 2 meters tall, his entire body covered in fiery feather-like markings. He laughed unrestrainedly, "That's true. If the Crown Prince desires something, even the third palace master would likely have to wash herself clean and kneel in silent anticipation. But the Crown Prince has exceptionally high standards, only Yu Yaozi can truly catch his eye." Zen Master Six Thoughts said, "This is the third game between the Crown Prince and the third palace master. If the third palace master can use the Qilin Terrace's formation to hold off the Crown Prince for 3 days, he will immediately leave the Lingxiao realm." Fu Wenyan scoffed, "The Crown Prince only wants to stall her for 3 days. Did the third palace master really believe him? Is the Lingxiao realm's transcendence really that naive?" Yang Shenjing replied, "It's not naivety, it's helplessness. The weak can only cling to fantasies of being spared by the strong. Without such fantasies, only despair remains. Only those outside the game can see that the strong are merely playing games, seeking greater satisfaction from their manipulation. Crimson Phoenix chuckled. I'm more curious about what the third palace master will lose if the crown prince breaks the Qilin Terrace's formation and reaches the summit within 3 days. Haha. Li Longshu, a transcendent from the Li clan, appeared on the palace roof. There's no need to wait 3 days. With our current strength, we could storm the Lingxiao Palace right now and crush any formation in our path. Fu Wenyan seized the opportunity. Excellent. Senior Li, why don't you attack the Phoenix Pavilion? Help us test Yu Yaozi's sword to see if it can still cleave through transcendence. The mention of Yu Yaozi caused everyone present to stiffen. After centuries, even millennia of cultivation, who would willingly risk their life in such a gamble? Li Longshu glanced at Fu Wenyan, his gaze lingering on the carriage behind him before returning to the palace roof. And Shanjing said, if Yu Yaozi could have intervened, she would have done so long ago. Why would she stand idly by while the kingdom her master, Mist Celestial, had built fell into such disarray? Yang Shenjing replied, the formation on the cloud heaven immortal plane poses the greatest threat. Luan Sheng Linyu had been listening quietly, observing that these powerful cultivators all seemed to carry a certain arrogance, much like he had before the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival. The weak are pessimistic, while the strong are arrogant. This human weakness was something no one could overcome. As they mocked the third palace master, they were themselves sliding toward another extreme. Luan Sheng Linyu said, several interesting events occurred in the city today, and I'd like to share them with you, seniors. Around noon, Zhe Shantong, after getting drunk at the Heavenly Pavilion, revealed a secret from 1,000 years ago. He claimed that during Mist Celestial's reign, a Mist Shadow army was formed as Lingxiao Palace's ultimate trump card, under the command of Yu Yaozi. He wept and called for the Mist Shadow army to gather at the West City Gate tomorrow and march to the Western Territory battlefield. Fu Wenyan asked, what do you, seniors of the Lingxiao realm, have to say about this? I've never heard any legends about the Mist Shadow army, but it's not unusual for a hidden sect to exist within any of the ancient myriad sects. Lingxiao Palace having a secret army hidden in the shadows wouldn't be surprising, and Shanjing replied. Li Longshu said, whether it's true or not, I'll go to the West City Gate tomorrow to see for myself. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 162 417 Veteran Against Cavalry. 162nd of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Luan Sheng Linyu continued, second, the Western Sea slave veterans residing in Azure Cloud Market are planning a large-scale gathering outside Pale Moon Square tomorrow morning to prepare for deployment to the Western Territory battlefield. These veterans, who have been able to live near the West Sea Royal Manor, are all martial mystic path masters. If they form a battle formation, their combat effectiveness will be formidable and should not be underestimated. The crisis in the Western Territory will leave Lingxiao City in an unprecedentedly vulnerable state, Yang Shenjing said. The transcendent of the Sacred Dark family declared, they say the Western Sea Slaves are the Lingxiao realm's #1 iron army. Let the Dark Knights test their mettle tomorrow. And Shanjing added, third, something has happened to the Liang clan, one of the Rice sect's most crucial assets in the city. Liang Chu has expelled over half of his clan members from Lingxiao City. Without control over the Liang clan, it will be difficult to completely dismantle the city protecting formation. Zen Master Six Thoughts said, fourth, Song Yulo has broken free from mental control and gone missing. Li Longshu replied, that's only natural. At this stage, the imperial court wouldn't have taken no precautions. If everything were truly calm and flawless, that would be truly alarming. Of course, even with their precautions, they can only struggle slightly against the tide of events. From the carriage behind Fu Wenyan, a woman's voice echoed, we have only 3 days left. We must accept that anything can happen. After all, we took a huge risk entering the city precisely to deal with such unforeseen circumstances. Whoosh! A vast expanse of ground began to writhe. A colossal, mud-yellow warship, over 100 feet long, erupted from the earth. Its mast was fashioned from the bones of an ancient immortal giant, its ghost banner fluttering ominously. A chilling aura filled the entire transcendent manor. A young man with an orchid mark on his brow stood at the ship's prow, his aura surpassing everyone present. Zhenhai Guanwu truly is extraordinary. The 36 earth veins she laid beneath the ground in those days are not a small feat. Even with this seat's 7,000 years of cultivation, it took 6 days and 5 nights to tunnel through the earth and cross. If those earth veins were fully activated, even the ancient celestial emperor himself would have to admit defeat. The assembled martial mystic cultivators were overwhelmed by his imposing presence, struggling to breathe. They all bowed slightly in respect. This was a hegemon of the nether realm of the dead, ruling over dozens of the 272 states, commanding 9 cities, 10 prefectures, and 12 caves. To directly pilot a warship through the earth beneath the cloud heaven immortal plane and into the city, such a feat could have scared half the martial mystic cultivators in Lingxiao City to death. Zen Master Six Thoughts had already risen to his feet, maintaining a respectful bow. Lord Lan, please instruct us on our next attack strategy. The young man with the orchid mark replied, what? Do you want this seat to lead the charge, leaving Qilin Zhuang and the Azure Phoenix fishermen to reap the rewards? We dare not. Zen Master Six Thoughts turned to the others, then let's proceed as planned. In 3 days, when Lord Zhuang arrives, we'll coordinate our attack from within and without to break through Lingxiao City together. The Qilin Terrace stood 800 zhang tall, constructed primarily of black stone. Under the starlight, the Demon Kingdom Crown Prince ascended the black stone steps one by one. With each step, the formation scriptures on the steps beneath his feet and in the surrounding air rapidly faded. He had already appeared 200 zhang above the ground. At this rate, it wouldn't take 3 days. He could break through the formation meticulously crafted by the third palace master over 1,000 years and reach the summit in a single day, all on his own. The spiritual masters, female officials, and eunuch officials within the Qilin Terrace trembled under the aura of this peerless powerhouse. Many officials had knelt beside the stone steps the moment the Demon Kingdom Crown Prince arrived, too terrified to rise or move. It was a pressure that could crush even the soul. The third palace master stood at the top of the steps, her brow radiating spiritual light like a full moon. Even with all her strength, she couldn't stop it. At 1/4 past Chenshi, 7:15 a.m., the sky was a deep blue. A faint glow had already appeared on the horizon. Half an hour remained before the gates of Lingxiao City and all the prefectural offices would open. At that time, all imperial court officials and soldiers would report to their respective offices, setting the entire city into precise motion. Xuanhuan had witnessed the Demon Kingdom Crown Prince ascend halfway up the mountain before leaving Qilin Terrace. She walked alone down the 100-foot-wide boulevard, her expression dazed, her brow furrowed, her heart shattered. This is terrifying. Qilin Terrace, a formation meticulously crafted by the third palace master over 1,000 years, had been shattered by the enemy in a single night. In the past, the third palace master had been like a god in her eyes, omnipotent and all-powerful. But last night, she had seen with her own eyes that even at her absolute limit, the third palace master couldn't stop the enemy in the slightest. The outcome of the gamble was already sealed, all that remained was a desperate struggle. Gods, it turns out, aren't truly omnipotent. The old street sweepers from the street administration were already cleaning the boulevard. Xuanhuan hadn't received yesterday's summons from the Hidden Ones, yet she found herself drawn to Pale Moon Square. She desperately wanted to weep, to tell the other Hidden Ones to flee Lingxiao City immediately. This city had no hope. Suddenly, Xuanhuan witnessed a scene that left her utterly stunned. On the vast, empty boulevard, a perfectly aligned square formation materialized. They wore the standard armor of the Western Sea slaves and wielded horse-slaying blades. Nearly all of them had white hair and wore animal helmets. Some were missing arms, others limped, and some were blind, more than half were physically impaired. Yet their spirits were high, their eyes sharp as swords, and their formation was as precise as a painting. The aura emanating from the square formation froze the air for miles around. Their battle intent and killing intent drove away any pedestrians or carriages that dared to pass through. The black flag of the Western Sea slaves fluttered fiercely in the wind. Xuanhuan approached one of the old Western Sea slave commanders and learned that they had gathered spontaneously. Today, they would march to the Western Territory and return to the West Sea camp to fight the Demon Clan's army. They arrived at the Transcendent Manor, the hidden residence of the Hidden Ones, and knocked for a long time before the door finally opened. The door closed, and the formation activated. Li Wei dispelled his disguise technique and said, all the Hidden Ones and Hidden Elders evacuated yesterday. I wanted to inform you, but no messages could reach Qilin Terrace. For some reason, Xuanhuan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. It's good they left. Zhenhai Guanwu had gone to the Phoenix Pavilion an hour ago with Duke Taishi. She had another urgent matter to attend to and asked Li Wei to wait for her. She would personally escort him out of the city. Li Wei saw the sorrow and pain in her eyes. What's wrong? Xuanhuan immediately told Li Wei about the events at Qilin Terrace. Crown Prince Yu Daojun of the Demon Kingdom is one of the top figures in Xiaoyao capital. It's only natural that the third palace master couldn't defeat him. Just because the formation at Qilin Terrace couldn't stop him doesn't mean the 9 heavens beyond the clouds grand formation, the immortal origin formation, the city protecting formation, or the 36 earth veins will fail, Li Wei reassured her. Xuanhuan looked puzzled. Everyone else has left. Why haven't you? I have to stay and finish one last thing, Li Wei replied. Xuanhuan said, let me handle it. I'm the third palace master's disciple and have already sworn to live and die with Lingxiao City. Give me all the intelligence and documents, and I'll send someone to take care of it. When the city gates open later, you must leave immediately. The situation is extremely dangerous, and the enemy could strike at any moment. There's no time. Li Wei said. Xingyuanu's eyes narrowed, realizing something. What do you mean? The operation is scheduled to begin in 2/4 of an hour, Li Wei replied. Xingyuanu quickly suppressed her shock and asked, why the rush? All the hidden ones have already evacuated, and you have no manpower left. Besides, we can't possibly move today. The Demon Kingdom Crown Prince is blocking Qilin Terrace, and without the third palace master's orders, the Imperial Court's prefectural offices won't function properly. Chaos will erupt. We'll have to wait until at least tomorrow. The arrow is already knocked, it must be fired. Li Wei looked at her and produced a governor's official robe and the governor's official seal, handing them over. You've already broken through to the 7th heaven of the Dao Seed realm, haven't you? Put this on quickly. Though I'm a divine hidden one, you're a martial mystic expert. Whether you choose to fight or flee is your decision. If you choose to leave, stick close to me later. Xingyuanu quickly donned the governor's official robe and tested it with her spiritual qi. Her eyes widened in shock, her mind filled with questions. Who said I have no manpower? Haven't you seen those battle-hardened veterans who've fought on the battlefield for at least a jazi? Huh. Li Wei let out a soft exclamation, sensing movement on the ground. He leapt onto the city wall. A thick, ominous demon cloud was surging in from the west. The ground, which had been trembling slightly, began to shake violently. 200 dark knights, riding crawling bone giants, advanced from the west and stopped a mile away from the Western Sea slave veterans. 4 blood handprint knights, 3 men and 1 woman, stood at the front. They surveyed the distant veterans with scrutinizing gazes. If they make any sudden moves, intercept them under the pretext of Xie Chukai's murder, one of the blood handprint knights said, don't worry about Lingxiao Palace. The crown prince is on their side, so we can't act without restraint. Let's go. Time to act. Li Wei, dressed in his governor's official robe, calculated the time. He and Xingyuanu moved in tandem toward the veteran formation of the Western Sea slaves, then leapt onto the city wall. Old Zhuang, who had already arranged for Song Yulo to be placed with the noodle shop owner in Minglin Lane, stepped out from the formation and transmitted his voice secretly to all the veterans present. Today, we're not going to West Sea Camp. We're defending Lingxiao City. The enemy has already arrived. There are traitors within our ranks and external foes. They're lurking within the city, enemies from the Demon Kingdom, members of the Demon Clan, heretics from the heretical sect, and dead spirits. If we don't kill them all today, perhaps tomorrow everyone in the city will be slaughtered, becoming food for the Demon Clan, playthings to be sold to the Demon Kingdom, their resources and treasures plundered, leaving only scorched earth. Then, the flames of war will spread across the entire 28 prefectures. Today, we have no choice but to fight. The veterans were stunned for only a moment. Their battle formation remained steady. Then, they roared in unison, Western Sea Slaves. Western Sea Slaves. Western Sea Slaves. They responded with this. Li Wei glanced at the distant dark knights and secretly transmitted his voice, asking, how many men can hold them? 200. An old commander replied. Another old commander, his killing intent ignited by old Zhuang's shocking news, roared, all able-bodied men, step forward. 200 against 200. Foot soldiers against cavalry. Seasoned veterans against elite troops. Horse-slaying blades against spears. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 163, 418 The entire city engaged in battle. 163rd of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. 200 West Sea slave veterans formed a formation of 5 ranks and 40 rows. Their eyes, sharp and expectant, burned with the renewed fervor of blood that had lain dormant for years. In this moment, each man recalled his youth, his first days in the military camp, full of vigor and vitality. They remembered the exhilaration of past battles, the endless demons and demonic specters they had slain. Now, they shouldered the heavy responsibility of their final battle, a last stand in the twilight of their lives. The remaining 600 West Sea slave veterans were divided into 30 groups. Li Wei distributed 30 copies of the intelligence information, quickly assigning each group its task. The farthest prefecture is 80 miles from here. How long will it take to deliver the message? If I can't deliver it within half an hour, take my head. A 100-year-old veteran at the 7th heaven of the Dao Seed realm stepped forward. I don't need half an hour. I can reach it in a quarter of an hour. Within 15 minutes, the entire prefecture's troops will be fully assembled and ready to move out. Anyone who dares to delay will face my blade. Another veteran, an aberrant humanoid at the ninth heaven of the Dao Seed realm, had once been the scout commander of the West Sea Slaves. He had repeatedly ventured deep into the far western ashlands for reconnaissance but had retired over a decade ago due to injuries to his chi. His body technique speed was unmatched among those present. Li Wei assigned the task of delivering the message to the farthest prefecture to this former scout commander. Turning to the others, he declared, "Speed is crucial in warfare. Today, we must race against the enemy and against time. We must strike them head on before they can fully react. Our enemies are all martial mystic Dao masters with lightning-fast reactions. If we can't quell the fighting within 15 minutes, it will be a disgrace to the Western Sea Slaves. Whether we're on the defensive or the offensive in this battle depends entirely on you. The clash between transcendence and great powers requires the support of the city's formation. But the enemy could destroy it at any moment. Your ability to swiftly control the city and ensure the formation functions properly also rests on your shoulders. The enemy might realize their mistake and try to intercept you. You must adapt on the fly, breaking into smaller groups. No matter what, you must complete your mission. Finally, after eliminating the traitors, you must fill the gaps in the defensive formation. Can you do it?" The captain of the 30th unit of West Sea Slave veterans' eyes blazed like they were about to erupt into flames. "There's no task a West Sea Slave can't complete. Inform all prefectures, this is an order from the 3rd Palace Master and Duke Taishi. Life or death hangs in the balance, we must depart immediately." Li Wei roared. Old Zhuang, one of the captains, met Li Wei's gaze. Li Wei nodded, and old Zhuang's entire body surged with spiritual qi. Despite his crippled leg, he moved with incredible speed, joining the other West Sea Slave veterans as they transformed into human rivers, weaving through the labyrinthine streets at breakneck speed. Li Wei turned to Xuanhuan, who understood immediately. The two of them silently activated the governor's robes they wore. A mile away, the 4 blood handprint knights of the Dark Knight Legion were puzzled. It was clear these veterans weren't rushing to the Western Territory as ordered. What are they doing? They're distributing paper scrolls. One of the blood handprint knights, over 5 meters tall with a pair of black feathered wings, sensed something amiss. But the area was shrouded in a psychic field, preventing them from eavesdropping on their conversation. He could only sense a surge of intense killing intent emanating from these incomplete, ancient bones. Another blood handprint knight with a pure immortal body sneered, "Interesting. They've actually mobilized 200 old soldiers into formation to face us. Over the past few days since entering the city, countless Lingxiao martial mystic cultivators have foolishly challenged us. Are they planning to test the sharpness of our spears as well? Something's wrong. They're moving, but in different directions. Damn it, those 200 old soldiers have formed a battle formation. Their battle intent is overwhelming. Dark Knight Legion, all units, form battle formations and prepare to engage." Even though the 3rd Blood Handprint Knight didn't believe these old soldiers dared to charge them, the moment their killing intent surged, he immediately ordered his troops to prepare for battle. It's crucial to understand that between two armies of equal strength, the difference between fighting in formation and fighting as scattered individuals is like heaven and earth. The former is a unified whole, while the latter is a loose collection of individuals. The disparity is akin to a morale-fueled army pursuing a routed force. 10,000 fleeing soldiers are no match for 800 elite tiger troops. Roar! 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 200 West Sea Slave veterans roared like savage beasts. As they raised their horse-slaying sabers, every blade tip aligned perfectly in a straight line, achieving heavenly Dao Law convergence. Their Dao heart manifestations, Qi, spirit, and battle intent merged into one, forming a giant resembling the West Sea King, towering dozens of meters tall. Whoosh! Formation glyphs and scriptures erupted from their armor and horse-slaying sabers, filling the sky and earth. The formation glyphs coalesced into a formation plate 3 miles in diameter, blanketing the sky and earth, transforming the space into a furnace that enveloped the Dark Knight Legion. The scriptures flew toward the West Sea King, transforming into scales for its armor. A black flag fluttered in the wind, and a hurricane enveloped the battlefield for miles around. The clash of gold and iron, the thunder of war drums, swirling sand and cloud mist, and the spectral images of countless soldiers and horses, all these manifestations of battle intent materialized in the heavens and earth. At this moment, even an immortal realm great power who dared to approach would be cleaved in two with a single strike. The Dark Knight Legion, of course, possessed their own battle formations. As elite troops, their individual combat prowess surpassed even the West Sea Slave veterans. But their arrogance blinded them. They never imagined that a Lingxiao realm army could suddenly unleash such overwhelming killing intent. As if determined to slaughter them all. The instant the 4 blood handprint knights sensed danger, Li Wei and Xuanhuan activated the governor's robe and executed a spatial jump. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 purple mist orbs materialized within the Dark Knight Legion's formation. Emerging from the mist, the two unleashed their Dao heart manifestations, creating explosive shockwaves that sent several nearby Dark Knights flying. Then, wielding their warriors, Li Wei and Xuanhuan launched a frenzied attacks. Their goal was to sow as much chaos as possible, delaying the Dark Knights from forming a battle formation. The 5-meter-tall black feather aberrant blood handprint knight reacted instantly. He leapt from the white bone giant's back, hurling a spear at Xuanhuan and sending a palm strike toward Li Wei from a distance. All 4 blood handprint knights were at the 9th heaven of the Dao Seed realm. Though the blood handprint knight was still 20 meters away, his willpower had completely locked onto Li Wei. The blood-red handprint he unleashed resembled a burning sun, capable of leveling entire mountains. Roar. Li Wei's governor's robe emitted a dragon's roar. A massive, mist-like dragon erupted from his chest and collided with the incoming blood handprint. Last night, his wind mansion dragon seed had broken through from the peak of the 4th heaven of the Dao Seed realm to the 5th heaven. The dragon soul power he could now wield was far greater than when he had fought Xie Chukai. Boom. The dragon soul shattered inch by inch under the impact of the blood handprint. The power contained within the blood handprint rapidly diminished, its crimson glow fading. Fight. Li Wei summoned the golden crow flame armor, combining internal martial mystic powers with external psychic power. With this fusion, he unleashed a palm strike that met the blood handprint head-on. The force of the collision sent him flying backward. The resulting shockwave scattered outward, knocking 3 riders from their horses. Li Wei retreated several yards, yet remained composed as he steadied himself and faced the enraged blood handprint knights. Go. Whoosh. He activated his governor's robe, transforming into a purple mist that vanished in a flash of light, evading the spears that pierced the air where he had stood. Meanwhile, Xuanhuan used her prefectural governor's official seal to deflect the spears thrown by the blood handprint knights. She retreated a step and then teleported away. The blood handprint knights landed where Li Wei had just stood. It's him. From his earlier performance, it was clear this was the Lingxiao Heavenly Pride who had defeated Xie Chukai at the 6th Thoughts Zen Temple. He had heard many descriptions of him. He was a target the Dark Knight Legion was determined to eliminate. What shocked the blood handprint knights was how a 6-star spiritual master with limited martial mystic Dao cultivation could have withstood his palm strike. He wanted to pursue Li Wei, but a dazzling blade light appeared above his head. Whoosh. 200 West Sea slave veterans, moving in perfect unison, unleashed the open horse slash. They had practiced this strike for a century. Formation, man, and blade had long merged into one. Blade intent and blade chi overlapped, unleashed from the West Sea King's hands, which stood dozens of meters tall, forming a bright river of blade light several miles long. Buildings on both sides of the street exploded with loud, boom, sounds. Defensive formations within the Pale Moon Quarter were activated one after another. The Dark Knight Legion's battle formation was only half complete, with the formation plate barely formed and internal chaos evident. A towering, disheveled white bone giant's spectral image had just risen from the formation. Boom. A mile-long street between the 2 armies exploded, leaving a deep chasm and debris flying everywhere. West Sea. West Sea. The battle formation advanced rapidly, delivering a second strike. West Sea. West Sea. 3rd strike, 4th strike. By the 7th strike, the Dark Knight Legion's battle formation had completely shattered. In a flash of blade light, 2 or 3 dozen knights screamed in agony. Some were cleaved in 2, others had limbs flying everywhere, and blood poured down like a waterfall. The aberrant humanoid blood handprint knight, who had cultivated to the 9th heaven of the Dao Seed realm, had his armor shattered and his body reduced to blood mud with a single blow. Once the battle formation collapsed, it became a one-sided slaughter. The formation plate of the West Sea slave veterans' battle formation enveloped a 3-mile radius. Escaping the area was no easy feat. The remaining 3 blood handprint knights, their wills unyielding, shouted, "Don't let your fighting spirit falter." They unleashed 3,000 character artifacts, a chi banner, a war drum, and a war hammer. With the combined might of all the Dark Knight Legion's martial mystic cultivators, they continued to clash with the veterans' battle formation. Fleeing would only lead to a faster death. If they could hold out for a while longer, the sacred Dark Family's transcendents would surely notice the sudden crisis and come to their rescue. It was utterly incomprehensible why they had suddenly started slaughtering everyone. Had these Lingxiao veterans gone mad? Martial mystic cultivators, merchants, courtesans, officials, everyone living near the Pale Moon Quarter was jolted awake from their sleep, staring at the battle unfolding on the 100-foot-wide main street between the 2 armies. Those dark knights from beyond the realm had been lording over us since entering the city, acting as if they were superior beings. Finally, someone's putting them in their place. It had to be the world's #1 Iron Army, the Western Sea Slaves. Aren't the veterans afraid of retaliation from the Demon Kingdom and the Sacred Dark Family for such a massacre? There must be a powerful figure behind this, orchestrating something big. This is too radical. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. What's happening? Both the quarter formation and the inner formation have been activated. The city protecting formation has also been activated, not just 3 layers, but all 9 layers. It's unprecedented in 1,000 years for all 9 layers of the formation to be fully engaged. What major crisis has occurred? Only the Holy Spiritual King himself can activate all 9 layers of the Great Formation. While Li Wei and the 800 Lingxiao veterans were taking action, the city defense camp was undergoing a similar purge. Both groups moved simultaneously to ensure absolute certainty. Last night, Taishi Qingxi, Liang Chu, and several other direct descendants of the Taishi clan's great powers personally took action. In complete silence, they had already cleared out the most critical positions within the city defense camp. All soldiers, heed my command. Follow me to the junior secretary of the Phoenix Terrace's residence to suppress the heretical sect's leader, Yao Qian. Liang Chu, Duke Taishi's disciple, donned armor and led an army in a grand procession. Our mission is to seize the 9 Earth Vein Towers in South City as quickly as possible, establish defensive positions, and stabilize order in South City. Taishi Bai shouted to all the Taishi clan's retainers, then mounted his strange beast and charged forward like a bolt of lightning. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 164 419 The Wind Chimes Return to the Lingxiao Realm. 164th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. In the eastern part of Lingxiao City, at the Azure Cloud Market, a black cloth sack appeared outside the West Sea Royal Manor. The Western Sea slave veteran who had dropped it simply shouldered his blade and walked away. Old Lin, what does this mean? The guards stationed at the manor's gate were familiar with the veteran from Minglan Noodle Shop, having fought alongside him against the demon clan in the West Sea camp. The guard untied the sack. Upon seeing the person inside, he recoiled in shock and immediately rushed into the manor. Moments later, Song Lin, Song Qingli, and dozens of other Song clan experts brought the sealed Song Yulo to the small courtyard where Princess Yunchong resided. Princess Yunchong emerged from her second-floor room. Her white hair was neatly coiled in a bun, her face etched with wrinkles, and her aged frame leaned heavily on a dragon-headed staff. With a wave of the staff, she dispelled the seal on Song Yulo. Song Yulo knelt, shouting, "Ancestor." The calamity that befell Lingxiao City today is a catastrophe of utter devastation. As Song Yulo finished speaking, the martial mystic cultivators of the West Sea Royal Manor were struck with terror, descending into chaos. What's the panic? Princess Yunchong remained composed, gazing at the beams of light and shimmering veils of the formation rising in the distance. Using her intent to scan the entire city, she said coldly, "You only realize the catastrophe now. You've indulged in pleasure for too long, losing your vigilance. The veterans of the Western Sea Slave are already in battle." She strode down the stairs, simultaneously issuing orders. The 180 formation hubs of the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane are the top priority. Summon all Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivators from the King's Manor there immediately. Song Lin, Qingli, you two gather the forces from the Azure Cloud Market to defend the 9 Earth Vein Towers in East City and maintain order. Song Chong, activate all the grand formations within the King's Manor and ignite the 5 Phoenix Cauldron. Kill any giant demons who appear in East City immediately. By the time Princess Yunchong reached the ground floor, her dragon-headed staff had vanished, replaced by a horse-slaying blade. Donning her armor, she set off alone for the Lingxiao Palace. That was where the most crucial battle awaited. As the ninefold city protecting grand formation activated, the sky lowered, becoming only 100 feet high. The mist swirled with aurora, lightning, and formation scriptures, the formation constantly shifting and releasing a terrifying aura that chilled the soul. Duke Taishi's psychic power blanketed the entire city, his voice echoing like a celestial decree. Today, the Demon Kingdom, the Demon Clan, the Dead Spirit, and the heretical sect have launched an attack on Lingxiao City. Martial mystic cultivators within the city must aid the imperial court. First, eliminate the enemies within the city, then prepare to confront the invading forces from beyond the immortal planes. All government offices must coordinate with the City Defense Corps and the Western Sea Slaves to thoroughly purge the internal traitors planted by the Sui sect and the heretical sect. Those who betray Lingxiao will be executed without mercy. Those who betray the human clan will be torn to 10,000 pieces. Li Longshu stood at the railing of a pavilion about 100 paces from the West City Gate, gazing up at the sky. He had come to investigate reports of the Mist Shadow army gathering. Upon hearing Duke Taishi's words, a look of bewilderment flashed across Li Longshu's deep eyes. Their plan had been to strike 3 days from now. How could they have been arranged to attack today? The entire city erupted in a cacophony of killing. Combat erupted across Lingxiao City within a quarter of an hour. Every ward and district was consumed by the chaos of breaking formations, breaching gates, fighting, and arrests. Li Longshu immediately understood what had happened. He let out a long laugh. Duke Tai Shi, you truly are remarkable. You saw through everything and returned in secret long ago. How long have you been planning this? Everyone, let's fight. The figure vanished from the pavilion. Boom. Li Longshu appeared in the plaza beneath the West City Gate. With a single palm strike, he shattered the entire city gate and its watchtower, reducing them to dust as if they were made of sand. The formations protecting the gate and tower were utterly defenseless against his transcendent power. The power radiating from Li Longshu's body caused a vast swath of the city behind him to crack and spread outward. His palm strike had shattered 4 layers of the city protecting formation. Whoosh. Above, a vortex several miles in diameter materialized. From the vortex's center, a blinding beam of formation light descended. Li Longshu's eyes narrowed. He dared not continue his attack. He activated his protective spiritual artifact and fled into the city, making for the Lingxiao Palace, where the foundations of all the city's formations lay. On his way to the Lingxiao Palace, he finally spotted the Mist Shadow Army. Though few in number, every member of the Mist Shadow Army wore a governor's official robe and carried a governor's official seal. They were stationed at the intersections of the city's districts, ready to reinforce any area where trouble erupted. The Mist Shadow Army had been secretly contacted by Zhe Shantong the previous night, so they hadn't gathered at the West City Gate that morning. The Sacred Dark family, like Li Longshu, had suffered a similar fate. They had intended to rescue the Dark Knight Legion, but as soon as they appeared, they were locked down by the city protecting formation. A young man's laughter echoed through the heavens and earth. Ha ha. Yu Daojun, Madam Yi, let's strike together. First, break through Qilin Terrace, then slay Duke Tai Shi. A massive yellow mud warship, dozens of meters long, soared from a transcendent manor. Its hull rapidly expanded to the size of a mountain, twisting space and shattering layer after layer of formation light veils before crashing thunderously into the cloud mist formation surrounding Lingxiao Palace. Lord Lan stood at the ship's prow, channeling the warship's immense power to withstand the city protecting formation's attacks. Before the city protecting formation activated, I sent out a transmission beam to the outside world. Qilin Zhuang and the ancestor of Rice must know something has happened on the cloud heaven immortal plane. At their transcendent speed, crossing thousands of miles won't take long, a woman's voice said. She sat within a carriage, crushing the formations blocking her path. The carriage, enveloped in a sea of ancient characters, plunged into the cloud mist formation. Act swiftly. Kill the third palace master before she can activate the 9 heavens beyond the cloud's grand formation, Li Longshu urged. Li Wei stood atop a city wall, gazing toward Lingxiao Palace. He sensed waves of terrifying auras emanating from that direction, each carrying overwhelming power that shattered the cloud mist formation. 3 palace complexes built into the mountainside were revealed. How terrifying. Each aura pressed countless martial mystic cultivators in the city to their knees. In the face of such overwhelming power, even with the advantage of time, terrain, and popular support, plus the aid of formations, resistance was futile. Nearby, the battle between the Western Sea Slave and the Dark Knight Legion had shifted from a clash of formations to a desperate chase, gradually drawing to a close. The Dark Knight Legion was nearly annihilated, with only a handful escaping. Why hasn't Zhenhai emerged yet? Has something gone wrong? Suddenly, Li Wei felt a surge of danger. He executed a swift footwork technique, dodging to his right. Swish. A crimson blade of energy, over 30 feet long, sliced through the air where he had just been standing. Incredible stealth technique, and lightning-fast blade technique. Li Wei landed safely on the ground. Fortunately, he was wearing his governor's official robe, which not only enhanced his speed but also provided exceptional defense. Without it, he would surely have been injured by this surprise attack. Roar. A monstrous creature, nearly 13 feet tall, erupted from the ground. Its bones were exposed, a pair of bony wings sprouted from its back, and its eyes were entirely blood red, lacking any pupils. It radiated intense killing intent, wielding a blood-stained blade as it slashed diagonally toward Li Wei. The blade's aura was overbearing and fierce, cleaving the air of the entire street in two. Xie Chukai. Li Wei sensed a familiar fluctuation of spiritual qi, his heart filled with shock and uncertainty. He immediately activated his movement technique, retreating to dodge the blade's attack. Xingyuanu, wielding a staff spear and riding the dragon soul, arrived on the scene, stunned by Xie Chukai's current appearance. She immediately thrust her spear forward, engaging the skeletal monster in battle. Li Wei released the Fusong Divine Tree Spiritual Light, combining his martial mystic intent to unleash the Karma Burning Wheel. He charged forward, sending the berserk Xie Chukai flying. The myriad manifestation staff spear shot out from the wind mansion. Li Wei grabbed it and thrust it downward. PFF'd. The spear pierced Xie Chukai's chest, pinning him to the ground. Yet he seemed oblivious to the pain, swinging his blood-stained blade toward Li Wei's waist and abdomen. Li Wei leapt back, sending a finger strike toward Xie Chukai's head. Boom. Xie Chukai's skull exploded, shattering into bone fragments and blood. Li Wei cautiously approached, pulling out the myriad manifestation staff spear. His heart was filled with complex emotions. At his level of talent, one mistake can turn even him into a monster. So-called geniuses and prodigies are only dazzling in the eyes of young people. To true powerhouses, they're nothing. A deeper sense of dread gripped Li Wei. He suddenly turned around, catching a fleeting glimpse of a familiar figure disappearing into the shadows. What's wrong? Xuanhuan assumed a defensive stance. Nothing. Li Wei forced a bitter smile, his face stiff. Palace master and had spared his life again. He silently vowed to repay this kindness, bowing towards the empty street. Lingxiao City was too dangerous. It was fortunate that Anshanjing had come. If another immortal realm giant from the heretical sect had arrived, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Moments later, Zhenhai Guanwu, clad in red robes, appeared before Li Wei. Come, I'll escort you out of the city. Zhenhai Guanwu cradled a 4 or 5-year-old girl with a pure immortal physique. Her delicate features resembled carved jade porcelain, her eyes closed in sleep, her long eyelashes fluttering gently. Li Wei glanced back at the retreating Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan, gazing at the red-robed woman who resembled the mist heavenly sovereign, was deeply shaken. From afar, she bowed to the two figures before resolutely heading towards Lingxiao Palace, spear in hand. Come, everyone has their own choices, and everyone should have the right to choose the path they tread. Zhenhai Guanwu, holding the sleeping girl, enveloped Li Wei in spiritual qi and swiftly appeared on the east city wall. Someone had helped her open a 10-foot wide gap in the city protecting formation. Once outside the city, Zhenhai Guanwu soared across the cloud heaven immortal plane. She took out 5 boundary pouches and handed them to Li Wei. I've stored all the classics from the divine martial tower inside. These are the most precious treasures of Lingxiao Palace. Please keep them safe for me and store them in the blood mud space. As long as these remain, our legacy will endure, enough to establish a new Lingxiao Palace in a short time. Next, she produced the yellow dragon sword and handed it to him. Time is limited. Tai Shi Kong only crafted one divine sword talisman. Use it sparingly. They reached the edge of the cloud heaven immortal plane. Zhenhai Guanwu stopped, carefully placing the porcelain doll-like little girl on the ground. She stroked the girl's forehead and whispered softly, Yu Yao, its master. Master has returned. Dao Ancestor Tai Chi fish, lend me your power. Li Wei removed the Dao Ancestor Tai Chi fish and handed it over, stunned. Is this the Grand Palace Master? How did she become so young? Li Wei had seen Yu Yaozi's portrait before. It must be the 6 thoughts heart spirit mind curse. It caused a problem with her cultivation, causing her physical body to regress over the past decade into this current state. Zhenhai Guanwu formed a hand seal and quickly tapped Yu Yao's 9 orifices. Then, she activated the Dao Ancestor's Tai Chi fish's power, carefully extracting 2 other shore heavenly pills from her ancestral field. One was golden, the other azure. The 2 other shore heavenly pills spun endlessly, like 2 suns, their radiant light illuminating the cloud heaven immortal plane. The spiritual qi throughout the heavens and earth surged violently. Whoosh! Zhenhai Guanwu injected 2 other shore heavenly pills into her ancestral field. Immediately, dense cracks appeared across her fragile skin and flesh. Though her skin and flesh were delicate, her bones were on par with a martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor, imbued with the power of an ancient celestial emperor. With the aid of the Dao Ancestor's Tai Chi fish, Zhenhai Guanwu circulated the spiritual qi through several cycles. Gradually, she adapted to the power of Yu Yaozi's 2 other shore heavenly pills, and the cracks on her skin began to heal rapidly. The aura radiating from Zhenhai Guanwu threatened to tear open the very sky. Her flying black hair sliced through space, leaving countless fissures in its wake. She turned to Li Wei. The void enlightenment technique must be kept secret and only passed down to a select few, precisely for this reason. Martial mystic cultivators who cultivate this technique share a common source of power. What I've been doing all this time is constantly telling her, I'm back. Only if her consciousness believes of return will her self-preservation instincts fail to retaliate when I retrieve her other shore heavenly pills. Otherwise, anyone who dares touch her will be killed. Beneath the cloud heaven immortal plane lies Fu Prefecture. The Twin Rice sect's Sacred Heart Layer altar is likely located directly beneath the cloud heaven immortal plane, adjacent to Lingxiao City. Take her away. Get as far from Fu Prefecture as possible. As the 6 thoughts heart spirit mind curse weakens, she might awaken. You're entrusting the Grand Palace Master to me. Li Wei felt overwhelmed by the weight of the task. Carry her on your back. Her self-preservation instincts will serve as your protective talisman. Even without the other shore heavenly pill, her physical strength and spirit realm psychic power still surpass ordinary martial mystic cultivators. Even if the human clan loses today, with her by your side, you can still strike back in the future. Zhenhai Guanwu waved her hand, cleaving through the immortal origin formation's curtain with a single sword strike. Then, sword in hand, she turned and strode toward Lingxiao City, now submerged in the array's radiant light. Li Wei stared at her solitary figure, his gaze profound. He couldn't help but call out, Zhenhai Guanwu. Zhenhai Guanwu stopped and turned to face him. This is just the beginning. Don't mistake the start for the end. You've only just completed your Yang marriage. The future holds infinite possibilities. Li Wei returned her words from the previous night. I know. I'm not an idiot. Zhenhai Guanwu turned back, her gaze instantly sharper than the sword in her hand. She took a step forward, and the entire cloud heaven immortal plane trembled violently. She crossed the void and appeared outside Lingxiao City. The white bone wind chimes at her waist jingled melodiously, their sound echoing across several prefectures of the Lingxiao realm. Today, she would announce to all of Yingzhou, Zhenhai Guanwu has returned. Meanwhile, Li Wei hoisted the little girl onto his back and leapt off the cloud heaven immortal plane just before the formation's light curtain closed. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 165 420 Bloodbath at Qilin Terrace. 165th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The cloud heaven immortal plane, towering 3,000 feet high and spanning 3,000 miles wide, stood bathed in a cloudless azure sky. The divine wing marquis of the demon kingdom stood on the ground of Liang province in the eastern territory, his golden eyes piercing the distance as he gazed at the peak of the immortal plane, as if peering into the immortal realm itself. Such a magnificent sacred realm, fallen from the immortal realm to the mortal world, with its abundance of immortal soil and vast expanse, was exceedingly rare in southern Yingzhou. The Lingxiao realm, lacking a martial mystic Dao heavenly emperor, had occupied such a sacred realm for 1,000 years. Its downfall was long overdue. The Divine Wing Marquis stood in a county seat with a population of several hundred thousand, located 280 miles from the cloud heaven immortal plane. The Demon Kingdom had seized control of this county months ago, strictly controlling all internal and external communications and concealing it with a formation. They had also constructed altars deep beneath the ground, preparing for their attack on the cloud heaven immortal plane. The Crown Prince of the Demon Kingdom, Yu Daojun, and Lord Lan, the Overlord of the Nether Realm, had dared to venture alone into the Lingxiao realm because they had already established 28 blood sacrifice altars at various points around the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane. These altars were guarded by powerful figures from the Demon Kingdom and the Nether Realm of the Dead. The power of a blood sacrifice is such that if the person conducting the ritual possesses sufficient psychic power, they could even refine an entire life realm. Once the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane undergoes any change and the formation activates, the 28 altars will immediately begin to operate. At this moment, in the county seat guarded by the Divine Wing Marquis, hundreds of thousands of human civilians were being herded like livestock by nearly 100 experts from the Demon Kingdom. They were forced to jump into the underground cavern, becoming sacrifices, their blood and bones turning into offerings. It wasn't that they didn't resist. They simply couldn't. Each of their opponents was as powerful as a god or demon, while they were merely mortals. The battle at the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane has erupted ahead of schedule. It seems the Lingxiao realm still has its share of prescient individuals. Such a momentous event couldn't possibly unfold silently and smoothly. The Divine Wing Marquis, clad in heavy armor and with 4 wings sprouting from his back, stood over 20 feet tall. His imposing presence enveloped the entire county seat. Beneath his feet, bloodline-like markings spread out from the altar, rapidly surging towards the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane and other altars. He intended to use the blood sacrifice to corrode the immortal plane grand formation laid down by Mist Celestial long ago. Next, the 28 altars connected to form a formation, preparing to blood sacrifice all living beings on the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane. Huh. The Divine Wing Marquis narrowed his eyes, channeling his spiritual power into his pupils, which flashed with golden light. At the peak of the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane, a tiny crack appeared in the formation light screen of the Immortal Plane grand formation. From the crack, a figure flew out and plummeted toward the ground. How bizarre. The Immortal Plane Grand Formation was feared even by Transcendents, making it nearly impossible to enter or exit freely. How could someone possibly escape at this moment? More importantly, the figure's aura was weak, nothing like that of a top-tier expert. A true top-tier expert would simply soar into the sky and fly away, not plummet to the ground. The more unusual the situation, the more imperative it became to capture the figure. The Divine Wing Marquis had followed the Crown Prince of the Demon Kingdom for 2 centuries, journeying to various life realms and annihilating dozens of sects and clans, both large and small. On several occasions, due to momentary carelessness, some insignificant sect disciples had used cosmic pouches to carry away their resource treasuries and ancient scriptures, leaving the demon kingdom with meager gains. He couldn't afford to repeat such a mistake. Moreover, this is treasure from the Lingxiao Palace in the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane, even Xiaoyao capital values it greatly. If he could snag a few choice items, he'd be set for life. With this thought, the Divine Wing Marquis immediately summoned 10 of his most trusted Blood Wing clan elites and ordered them to converge on Li Wei's landing spot. Among the 10 were the Divine Wing Marquis's children, clan elders, and transcendent disciples, all brimming with vitality and renowned Bloodwing clan powerhouses with decades of experience. 3 of them wore 9th grade 100 character artifact level blood handprint demonic armor, signifying their extraordinary status. The Divine Wing Marquis desperately wanted to go himself, but the blood sacrifice was only half complete, and he couldn't leave. Delaying the ritual would infuriate the Crown Prince, who would make him wish he were dead. Luo Tian, ride my wind-seeking beast and go. Do not disappoint me. If you fail to capture that man, you know the consequences. The Divine Wing Marquis commanded the 10 Demon Kingdom elites at his feet. Young Marquis Luo Tian, clad in blood handprint demonic armor, looked dashing and vigorous. His blood chi surged like a vast ocean within him. He leapt 100 meters into the air and landed gracefully on the wind-seeking beast's back. Father, rest assured. He won't escape. The Qilin Terrace rose 800 zhang high, constructed primarily of black stone. From the foot of the mountain to the summit, each black stone structure served as a crucial foundation for the great formations of the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane. The third palace master had controlled these formations for 3,000 years. The Crown Prince of the Demon Kingdom stood halfway up the mountain at 400 zhang, pausing to gaze at the sky. The moment the city protecting formation activated, he knew the transcendence and great powers of the Lingxiao realm had anticipated their attack and were preparing to strike first. This is the wisdom and fighting spirit a life realm should possess. Excellent. The Lingxiao realm hasn't disappointed me too much. The Crown Prince's eyes remained as calm as still water, his body as straight as a heavenly pillar. He spread his arms, and 4 ethereal immortal gates materialized around him. Each gate was magnificent and sacred, appearing as real as life itself. They crushed the formation glyphs and black stone structures around him into dust and rubble. The 4 immortal gates unleashed boundless power. The Crown Prince, majestic as a celestial god, ascended the mountain with incredible speed, stepping on the formation glyphs as if they were mere weeds. He said, Third Palace Master, you've shown impressive skill. You intend to hold me back single-handedly while the martial cultivators of the Lingxiao Palace eliminate internal threats within the city, don't you? But haven't you overestimated your own abilities? At the summit of the Qilin Terrace, the third palace master frowned deeply. Though she didn't know when Duke Tai Shi had begun his preparations, she knew this battle was now unavoidable. With a palm strike, she struck the immortal soil divine tree at the center of the Qilin Terrace Grand Hall, activating the 9 heavens beyond the clouds grand formation. Qilin Terrace disciples, take your positions in each hall and operate the formation. Together with this palace master, we shall exterminate these demons. Boom. The cloud mist formation enveloping the 3 mountains of the Lingxiao Palace was shattered by a yellow mud colossal warship. The mast swayed violently, its thunderous creaks deafening. The warship was shrouded in thick ghost mist and yin qi, as massive as Qilin Terrace itself. Its white bone mast radiated immortal light, casting a vast shadow across the ground. Officials of Qilin Terrace, caught in the warship's shadow, felt their souls tremble and their bodies grow cold, instinctively wanting to kneel. Third Palace Master, it's been a while. Do you recall when you and Yu Yaozi trespassed on my territory, destroying 3 ghost cities and slaying tens of millions of dead spirits? Did you ever imagine this day would come? Lord Lan, appearing as a young man, stood at the bow of the yellow mud colossal warship, one hand shielding his eyes, the other conjuring ghost fire to illuminate a yellow mud lamp. Burning within the lamp was the blood of an ancient immortal giant beast. Lord Lan had obtained this lamp from a fallen immortal realm. It was an unfathomable artifact with the power to capture and consume souls. Defending the 28 provinces of Lingxiao was no easy task. The transcendent humans had been constantly battling the overlords of the surrounding nether realms of the dead, using offense as their defense to maintain a millennium of peace. For the strong, there is never a time of perfect peace. They always bear responsibilities and burdens, constantly resisting and clearing crises. Only through such efforts can the younger generation have room to survive and enjoy a time of peace and prosperity. Survival is the struggle of the older generation against the heavens and earth, and the endless cycle of life for the younger generation. If either is missing, the life realm cannot endure. The third palace master knew Lord Lan's terrifying power. He was a dead spirit transcendence who had lived for 7,000 years and ruled a territory in the southeast even vaster than the entire Lingxiao realm. Facing the crown prince of the demon kingdom, she had only felt unprecedented pressure. But Lord Lan's appearance felt as if the heavens themselves were collapsing, a force she could not possibly withstand. Even if her eldest senior sister regained consciousness, whether they could handle the situation today remained uncertain. The yellow mud lamp's eerie, dim glow transformed the early morning into a twilight scene, turning the blue sky into the pitch-black void of the cosmos. Lord Lan stood like a god in the universe. The lamp's light pierced the formation barrier, attempting to seize the third palace master's soul spirit. The gap in cultivation between the third palace master and the two transcendents was vast. Only with the aid of the Qilin Terrace's formation could she withstand the yellow mud lamp's power. However, her control over the Qilin Terrace's formation weakened, allowing the crown prince of the demon kingdom to ascend the mountain even faster. The activation speed of the nine heavens beyond the cloud's grand formation was also affected, hindered by multiple unknown transcendents. Boom. The yellow mud colossal warship, shrouded in dense, ominous clouds, released chi comparable to a supreme artifact. For a short time, it could withstand the attacks of Duke Taishi's city-protecting formation. A mysterious carriage, enveloped in a sea of scripture, surged into Qilin Terrace, carrying boundless psychic power as it ascended the black stone steps. Wherever the carriage passed, all Qilin Terrace disciples, officials, and spiritual masters exploded into skeletons. Her goal was to prevent them from assisting the third palace master and Duke Taishi in activating the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plains formation. The carriage raced toward the summit, joining forces with the crown prince of the demon kingdom. Together, they advanced like a hot knife through butter, aiming to swiftly crush Qilin Terrace and kill the third palace master. Li Longshu arrived close behind, waving his hand to release spiritual qi, cleansing Qilin Terrace once more and leaving behind a mountain of corpses. He then launched his attack on the summit from a third direction. Once Qilin Terrace was flattened, half of the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plains formation would collapse, rendering it far less threatening to them. Within the Six Thoughts Zen Temple, Zen Master Six Thoughts and 1200 monks chanted scriptures and mantras. Suddenly, at the peak of Phoenix Terrace Mountain, in the city defense camp, and at the formation nexus, the pupils of several spiritual masters turned gray, their minds controlled. Some began destroying formations, others attacked the third palace master, and still others targeted Taishi Qingxi. Chaos erupted throughout the city, with massacres erupting in every district. Ha ha ha. Don't kill the third palace master yet. Cripple the spirit realm and leave it for me. The Crimson Phoenix dared not reveal its true form, fearing it would become a living target for the city-protecting formation. Teaming up with the Sacred Dark Family's transcendents, they carved a path through the 3,000 brocade-clad divine guards guarding the Lingxiao Palace along a 100-foot-wide district road. Half of the guards were swallowed whole by the Crimson Phoenix. The Imperial Court Transcendent, Blood Robe Chief Eunuch Xuanhuan, was seized by one of the transcendents by each arm and torn in half. His internal organs spilled out, and his bones shattered. The transcendent's agonizing screams echoed throughout the city, driving countless people to their knees in terror, trembling uncontrollably, and losing control of their bowels. When the transcendent's blood hit the ground, it instantly ignited into flames, engulfing an entire city domain in a raging inferno. Over 100,000 people perished in the sea of fire, their screams of agony echoing through the flames. Only those at the Five Seas realm managed to escape the inferno. While dodging attacks from the city-protecting formation, the Crimson Phoenix strode forward with purpose, pointing a finger at the sky to unleash an imperial technique. A vast cloud of southern brightfire descended, enveloping Qilin Terrace like a celestial conflagration, relentlessly incinerating formation glyphs. Whoosh! A vast expanse of earth spirit gray mist rose from a transcendent manor within the city. At the heart of the mist lay a golden otherworldly coffin. The coffin was as massive as a palace, entwined with golden beasts. As it flew, it shattered the void with sonic booms. The otherworldly coffin transformed into a meteor-like golden light, crashing into the city-protecting formation in the sky. Its purpose was to restrain Duke Taishi, aiding the other transcendents in breaching the Lingxiao Palace. Inside the coffin lay the Forbidden One of Coffin Mountain, also known as the Reaped, one of the three great victims of the Twin Rice sect. Protected by the otherworldly coffin, the Reaped was impervious to the formation beams of the city-protecting formation. Duke Taishi, forced to divide his attention among various fronts, couldn't single-handedly counter so many transcendents with his formation. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.